We'll move to a 10:30 delegation by Bryan, Executive Director of the Aeolian Hall. Fuzzy, request funds, communication number 11 refers to that. I believe that Mr. Henderson and Councilor Henderson has declared an interest in so happy upon that. Welcome, Mr. Bryan, to our committee. Look forward to your presentation. I would note that we'd like to give you about 5 minutes for the presentation, because I'm sure some of us have some questions, and that'll take up the balance of the time. So, welcome, and looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Mayor Fontana. I want to say thanks to yourself and to the members of the Finance Committee for allowing the Aeolian Hall Musical Arts Association the opportunity to present a request for funding. I realized that you were expecting me back in December. I understand there was a clerical error and I wasn't notified of my delegation time. So with that and the snow, that was the reason. I prepared this short presentation just to try to help encapsulate very quickly the request. So we'll move through to the first slide, and you can switch to your second screen to follow along on your monitors. So the Aeolian was built as the town hall for East London. The cost of building it bankrupted East London. It joined the main city in 1885. It was built by the renowned architect August Durand.
Excuse me, Bryan. Is your mic on?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. I guess it turned off on its own for some reason. Anyway, it was built as the town hall for East London by the renowned architect August Durand, and he's the most famous one in southwestern Ontario. It was owned by the city until 1946, at which time it was sold, and I purchased the building in 2004. In 1967, over $600,000 was invested into the building to shore it up with steel. It's a very solid piece of architecture, and the HVAC was redone on it as well, and the elevator was installed. Contextualizing my request in the Old East Village context, in 2005, the Planners Action Committee of Ontario identified the Aeolian as a significant beacon for revitalization of the Old East Village. In 2010, we are doing over 200 events at the Aeolian a year, and we have attracted thousands of people a month to the Old East Village, helping to rebrand the community as an arts destination. Clients have traveled from various Canadian provinces, the United States, Europe, to hear artists like Buffy St. Marie, Chick Corea, Daniel Lanois, and Baldy. The Aeolian employs 2 full-time staff, 4 contract workers, and 14 self-employed music teachers in our music school. In terms of the local economic development impact, you can see a list of businesses that have moved into the area as a result of our presence. We have testimonials from these businesses, and I'd like to read you a quick quote here from the Potters Guild, which is one of the more recent ones here. The Aeolian Hall is one of the gems of the Old East Village. It's a magnet for music lovers, not just from London, but from the surrounding communities. And I'll just paraphrase this a bit. For the London Potters Guild, having multiple artistic genres, music, theatre, fine arts, and crafts, in such a small geographic area that would allow intriguing possibilities for future cross-art programming for both youth and adults was another incentive for locating in the Old East Village. Aeolian Hall and its patrons are one of the lures that is also attracting unique and interesting restaurants and galleries to the area. Since 2004, the Aeolian has become a community connector, has a national reputation that has been labeled as legendary by many music periodicals, reviews, and artists. It's also become we've won a lot of awards. So we were awarded Best Live Venue twice in London with the Jack Richardson Music Awards. We also received an award last year through Pillar Nonprofit for outstanding community contribution, and CBC nominated us in the top 10 halls in Canada in its Searchlight competition. Okay, since 2004 as well, we have been chosen as a recording facility for many renowned artists, and we offer diverse programming including multi-genre music presentation, theater, dance, art exhibitions, community events, public meetings, and workshops. We were also chosen twice for study by Fanshawe Business School and the Ivy School of Business at UWO. We have over 300 volunteers, from high school students to 90 years of age, from all over London and region. And this particular slide, you'll see Wally Duffield, who's a very renowned volunteer in the community, volunteers everywhere, and he says the Aeolian is his favorite place. Some of our volunteers are new immigrants to the country. We have just recently quite a few of those, and they get a chance to socialize and get baptized into the community through our programming. So the volunteers help us in areas such as events, building maintenance, repair, office work, marketing, and promotion. We also have numerous educational opportunities at the Hall. We have the School of Music, which has over 200 students at the moment. We have interns from Fanshawe College, UWO, and the Ontario Institute of Recording Technology. Assisting me this morning actually is an intern from Fanshawe, just over here, Jonathan. We have this term we actually had, turned off again, 3 co-op students from 3 different high schools which are learning about the industry. We have partnerships with the Thames Valley School Board. This year we're doing an Aboriginal Festival for 5 months, including the return of Buffy St. Marie, but we are partnering with the Thames Valley School Board to present in 3 weekends some Aboriginal programming. We also have workshops that are given by visiting artists and have participated in the Job Creation Partnership Program for a number of years. The Aeolian Hall Musical Arts Association was formed in 2001 to save the Hall for future community and artistic uses. It obtained charitable status in 2003 and took over management of the facility in 2009. It has a very gifted and skilled board of directors, has received grants from federal, provincial, and the corporate sector, as well as numerous private donations. The hall has also been used as a municipal voting center. The AGMs of the BIA in the area have been held there, as well as various city meetings, including a meeting with Larry Beasley, the urban architect that I believe was working in consultation with the city. I'm not sure if he still is. And we've also had federal and provincial party meetings at the hall. We have a lot of social agencies in town. As a matter of fact, I'm hard pressed to think of many that haven't used the facility. We help facilitate a lot of nonprofit use, and we've had some UWO conferences at the hall. So just to conclude, I know these times are difficult from a financial standpoint, and an investment in the arts, in my opinion, is an investment in community. Has a huge economic spin-off. I was very lucky to sit on the Creative Cities Task Force here, and really am a believer in the work of Richard Florida. Unfortunately, I know we haven't been able to put too much funding into Creative Cities historically, but I do believe that if we do, we become a destination for businesses to move into London, and owners who want a vibrant place to live, as do their employees. So, an investment in the arts transforms the branding and the identity of the city into a culturally rich tapestry promoting diversity. It shows the values we have as a community. It's not just about living to survive, but the way we want to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bryan. And questions? Councilor Gould.
Yes, thank you very much, and well aware of the great work, and the MailChimp does work, because I see every event that's going on there probably 3 times a week. So just a question, I guess I'm a little fuzzy, Mark, if you could tell us exactly what the, well, I appreciate the background and a sense of where the organization's going. What's the ask today? What are you looking for?
Oh, I assumed you had that in front of you. I apologize if you don't, but I did send a package to Council with all of the critical pieces in it.
Yeah.
So we are asking for money to help us repair our roof. That's the first.
So it's the $93,000.
Yes, and we've also asked for assistance for our elevator, which I understand which will not meet code by the end of next year. All the elevators from this time period do not meet code. So those are the two asks.
Okay, that's helpful. Just, yeah, just when you're pitching, I want to know what it is that you're asking for. And I know you've got a large fundraising goal for the next period of time. What's the total? Is that the total across? That's the budget. What's the total fundraising goal?
I believe the figure is about $180,000 in total.
But that's what you're asking us for.
That's right. We're asking. I was told to submit and ask for what we need.
Okay.
So that's what we need. We are fundraising at the moment. The Aeolian, of course, is a very old building, and it has many needs beyond just these 2 asks. So just to give you an example, we have raised some money for the roof. But I have allocated a good portion of that already to a patch job to get us through the next couple of seasons. This keeps turning off. Just so you know, there's a technical glitch here.
So, from a buildings perspective, apart from programming and operational costs, what do you anticipate, say, over the next, say, 3 years, the total need is? I'm just trying to figure out, Mr. Mayor, just what the whole package is, and then if that gives us a sense, or certainly gives me a sense, I don't want to speak for my colleagues, what portion you're asking us to chime in on, and certainly this would be consistent of other organizations, whether it be Children's Museum or Fanshawe Park, or also, Fanshawe Pioneer Village in the past, where we have had a contribution to that. And what we want to do is we want to take our contribution and use it to leverage, so if it can help move your other initiatives forward, then that's, if we can make 50 grand become 150 grand, we're all really happy when that happens. So.
Absolutely. So, in terms of our piece of this, one of the lucky things was that before the charity took over operations, I ran the business as a for-profit, which meant that I did not receive any official public funding, and we have managed to make our bottom line each of those years. So in terms of this future sustenance in that area, we plan to keep the operations part of it going, and that's the largest piece of our budget. We do have a number of needs coming up. I wish I had a magic wand. The roof aged very prematurely. It took me right off guard because the previous owners told me that it was going to last 25 years. It's only lasted about 14. So I didn't notice it aging. And so we are looking at HVAC issues. A lot of the HVAC predates my purchase of the hall probably 10 to 15 years. So that will be one of the expenses that we anticipate as well covering. The outside structure in terms of the restoration of the heritage facet, we'll be looking for other pools of public funding, and we do an awful lot of it ourselves through volunteers. We have volunteer engineers, we have volunteer architects that help us.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I guess the question I have is, you know, our budget has been prepared, and maybe through you to Mr. Hayward, or and I reviewed our capital fund. I'm sorry. Our capital fund that I think was 500,000. What have we got committed? I think I remember $150,000 committed this year of that. And is there other? And maybe, Mr. Mayor, what we're going to end up doing is referring this as to budget, and I'd be happy to make that referral because it has to be looked at in the context of all that is on the table. So I will make that referral, Mr. Mayor, but maybe Martin, you could give us a little bit of insight.
I will put my microphone on to the mic.
Use Mike's. Well, use Mike's mic.
I don't want to either.
Just talk to me, Martin.
Okay. What the council is referring to is actually the capital grants program, which is under the financial section of the budget. And we have actually 350,000 available in that. I think there's an ask for 93,000 from the Jet Aircraft Museum that you have to consider. We do have a distinct process for that, and this is the one caution that I want to put out there for you. And that process is an application that requires much of the information that's been provided, plus financial statements and some other information that we ask for. That process ends on August 31st. So for this year's budget, the application for this year's budget ended last August 31st. In the past, we have turned away people that have come beyond that deadline and said no, it's for the next year. So there is an issue of fairness if you jump the queue, as it were, with this. So I just want to put that on the floor for you as well. In terms of would it fit under that program, from my review of this, the package that I have in front of me in the agenda, yes, it would fit in there, but we would need to do some other little bits of review as well on financial statements and that type of thing to make sure that we would be satisfied.
Okay.
Can I just follow that up? Perhaps Judy, you can do that, but on the process, just so that I understand it, because I believe in fairness and treating everybody the same, and perhaps to you, Martin, and to you, Clark, is that the deadline for submissions for capital grants was August 31st.
That's
right?
correct.
We have not received one from the Aeolian call.
No, we did not in that time frame.
Clark, did you know the deadline, or?
I wasn't aware of the deadline. I met with Jeff Fielding back last February, though, about getting some help from the city, and I was asked to wait a period of time, and as a result, we were going to reconnect. I didn't hear back from Jeff, so I took the initiative in the fall to meet with him and to get the ball rolling on this, and it's at that time that I learned about the process.
I'll take responsibility for the issue, so I intervened and suggest he still said no.
Well, let me just ask though, because I don't know if there's any rules with regards to how long you have to have been in business. I know that Clark, you've changed from a for-profit to a not-for-profit, and that was done in 2009.
September 1st.
September 2009. Are there any requirements with regards to our process and application that you must have been a entity, call it what you will, for a period of time before you apply, or can anybody apply once their status has been determined?
So through your worship, we tend to look for some financial stability to make sure that the investment the city is making is going to remain. We also look at the future and the makeup of the board of governors of the particular organization to make sure that what they're doing and what they're going to continue doing actually provides benefit to the citizens of London, because you don't want to invest somewhere where it's going to close down next year. The other things we have to look at are the ownership of the organization, and so if it's a private sector company, for example, we couldn't invest in it because that would be bonusing. So I was looking at some of this as well, and I just wanted to look at the ownership side of it as well, because I realize there's some change over there.
Okay. Judy?
Nancy, I think.
No, I had you first, but go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Okay. Thank you. There's no doubt about it, great cities have gems like this in them, and this is one of our truly in the crown of the gems of London. Been there many times. I was just thrilled when Clark bought the building. I've seen any manner of things going on there. I know many of the volunteers, we all do. It's hard to imagine London without Aeolian Hall. And I think definitely when we invest in the arts, when we invest in things like this, the payback's enormous. And particularly in this location, I think it has that additional impact on turning a community around who are incredibly proud and somewhere where they can meet on a regular basis. The doors are always open, they're always busy. This is a wonderful project. I think the building is owned by Mr. Bryan, and I think the operating of Aeolian Hall Arts Centre is the non-profit part. Is that correct?
It is correct, yes. We are working really hard right now. We just had the building appraised, and we are looking at, as part of legacy planning here, to create its own engine, transferring the building. Unfortunately, the mortgage is there, and there is a cost to doing that. The charity is young in terms of its tenure for operations right now, and we have a whole bunch of areas where we're trying to get money coming in. So we have also got a lawyer lined up to put this transaction in place. The board's working hard on that particular facet. So although I do own the building, we have a net lease. We have gone through the scrutiny of Trillium. We've got a Trillium grant. We've had a number of grants federally as well, which had created that kind of scrutiny that we had to go through to show no conflict of interest.
The other part that I'm struggling with is the deadline, the August deadline, because a number of organisations throughout the city have held back actually applying this year, in my knowledge of the airwaves. And our processes, I feel, are really, really important because of the struggle that everybody's in, including Aeolian Hall. So I'm having a real difficulty with the fact that I know other organisations didn't put in this year because they didn't feel it was a good time. And so this is what I'm really struggling with. August 31st for this year, 2011, is not very far away. That is an annual deadline. And I would feel a lot more comfortable if that's where this was coming through. Given I understand that certain things happened, and that happens with all organisations as they move forward.
Your Worship, just to reiterate, I'll take responsibility for discussions with Mr. Bryan at that time. Time did pass. I will take responsibility in terms of the deadline and that not being communicated appropriately during that period of time. So I hope that doesn't become a stumbling block in terms of the decision today. I mean, if you are going to forward the budget, you can make the decisions with respect to other applications at the same time. I would suggest you, the administration might not be advancing that much $90 going forward, but I would expect you to, this might be considered within that crunch.
Well, let's deal with that issue maybe a little later. Nancy?
I think much of what I was going to ask has been covered. So I guess I just, there's a lot of information here, but I just didn't think it was in the form that Martin usually requires it for these kinds of asks, and maybe that's what the application will provide for us. So at the very least, I'd like to refer it back to get the information that's required, and then I'm happy to bring it forward to this budget. I don't know that there's going to be, we can always then refer it to next year's budget if we can't deal with it or we decide not to deal with it, but we'll need the information in any case, whether we do it this year or next year. And so that's what I would like to say.
Well, can I just say something? Listen, I've been to your place. It is a gem, as Councillor Bryan says. I think arts and culture is part of our economic development prosperity and quality of life is an essential piece of building a great world-class city. And I think we have a number of gems in our city and we want to be supportive, and I want to. But there's some procedural issues that cause me some difficulty. So I've got some questions, if I could, because I think Councillor Hubert raised some of those questions, and perhaps had we had an application and had our administration, and I don't know why you didn't submit one after your meeting with Mr. Fielding, who told you to wait and so on and so forth, but the council can deal with that in a moment. But let me just, for my own understanding, because I don't have any other information, again, I think it is a gem. I know that you're newly not-for-profit and charitable. First of all, would you then pay taxes if you became a not-for-profit and charitable? Because right now you pay taxes, right?
Is this working? No, it stopped working. I'm not sure what taxes you...
Property taxes.
Property taxes are being paid right now.
The moment you become a not-for-profit or charity, you may or may not have to pay. I'm not certain of that.
There may be some taxes that are required on it, property taxes that are required.
Okay. Secondly, the total ask, as I understand it, for both the elevator and the roof is about $180,000. What I've heard is that I know that you've got an awful lot of volunteers, a lot of people pitching in, you've got an awful lot of needs, but to ask the city for the total load, I think is asking too much. So I'll say that right up front. I mean, $180,000 for me is not on, especially if you can look to leveraging. There are other programs, federal and provincial. There are other opportunities that are available to you in a number of ways. So this whole notion that $180,000 should be a total city responsibility, I must admit, is a little bit too rich for me, on the basis that I think past formulas have been one-third, one-third, one-third. So maybe you can clarify, because I'm not sure that I see that anywhere. Is that of the total $180,000, how much are you going to contribute, and have you applied federally and provincially for any other funds?
I had the floor, which I thought you weren't going to make a comment because I made the motion and I hadn't finished. So I guess I just don't think we have enough information today to have a debate about it. All that information is required. That's what I'm asking. We need a business plan, we need a financial plan, we need a capital plan. It has to be referred to staff and we'll refer it to the budget. But those questions should be coming out of Martin's discussion with Mr. Bryan. You know, he may not even be able to answer that today because he doesn't have it in the format that we need it. And that's really what my concern was today. I think it's a waste of time to be debating it today when we don't have the information we require.
Actually, I did submit all of that information.
Well, you see, that's the issue I'm trying to get to, because the reason why I'm sure that there's an August deadline is so that the administration can then do its due diligence between August and budget time as to what can be recommended to this council or not. And that's why I'm asking these questions, because I'd be very, very surprised if this council and this committee said refer it back, and yes, we'd like to entertain it, and all of a sudden you hadn't provided any information. This is the middle of January, and we've got to make a decision in a month. And, you know, so I'm not sure that our administration in a month's time can determine whether or not your building has been conveyed to the charity now because it's owned privately. Look, I'm trying to find a way around this maze, but I sure as heck don't want to, as a first instance, send a signal to every other group in this municipality that they can come in January when the deadline is August, and think that we're going to be able to do this in a rush basis. I mean, I want to support it, but I have some questions, and that's what I'm asking in terms of that. So
certainly, I did submit all of these materials. There was a very large binder that was submitted with marketing plans, financials, all that stuff. I was not given an official application to go through this process because I did miss the deadline, and so that has been done. And as far as the ask itself, when I approached Linda about what to do, she says, ask for what you need. Now, of course, we are in need of this money. We are doing ongoing fundraising. We are trying to, look for grant opportunities. One of the deficits in that situation is the fact that I do own the building. So, it's very difficult to apply for a grant for a building that's owned privately, as you're probably well aware.
Well, that's the point. So if council or if this committee wants to refer it, and that might be very appropriate for the purposes of doing a number of things, that would be appropriate. I thought I would tell you, though, that there are some caveats to my support of even a referral, because there are issues of whether or not we can do the due diligence in time, whether or not you can whether or not you can arrange your business affairs so they align with our contribution, and again, how much that contribution should be. Councilor Dewar.
Yeah, I think I,
Let me add.
Go ahead.
In the hold the binder up. This binder was submitted to the last time the park was here, so we've had possession of the binder before. I'm trying to tell you, I'm taking responsibility for it. If there was a misstep, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Mr. Bryan, because we had discussions, and time would go by. I don't know exactly why the time went by, but I know that I was involved in that discussion, and I feel somewhat badly that if we didn't communicate appropriately in terms of the process, that I'm responsible. So I said to him, please come to the council and explain the set of circumstances. We missed him the last time. 6 weeks have gone by since that period of time, and now we are where we are today. So my recommendation and suggestion is take it to the budget process and consider it part of the others. I know it's going to be a difficult budget process anyway on those matters, and you can then have some degree of confidence going forward about what you need to do.
So I think I referred it to the budget motion, and Councilor Brownscombe added, just if we could include the, if there could be consultation with Martin to get the appropriate formatting so that it's consistent with what the formatting should be for council. I know that I'm sure Mr. Bryan has that readily available based on the material that's there. Second to that, maybe a little conversation with Mr. Hopcroft would be helpful around other sources of funding, because I am aware of, and I'm not sure if the door is still open on it, there was a fairly substantial offering around accessibility, and it applied to for-profit building owners with favorable consideration to non-profit entities within those for-profits.
We did apply for this fund. We did, though, in advance of knowing the issues with the roof. So we applied for an accessible washroom, and we've been watching the EAF site to see if they're going to release another funding opportunity for small.
I was thinking particularly with respect to your elevator. Okay. And elevators are stinking expensive pieces of equipment. So, okay, that would be the motion.
Sure. Okay. Seconded by. Okay. Can I just ask one?
One more.
Yes, one question.
I'm glad about the motion. I'm supportive. I just wanted to mention, Ms. Rowe mentioned to me that the actual deadline is not August the 30th, it's June the 30th, and it's not for you so much now, it's for anybody who happens to be watching the flow that's coming from up there, that they get it wrong, because let's be really clear, the actual date is June 30th. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification, so there'll be no, and hopefully it's on our website, it's pretty clear as to what the rules of engagement are, and if they're not, let's make sure that everybody understands what those rules of engagement are, including me and others. Can I just ask one question, because I want to be supportive of the referral, but to Martin, when someone applies for the total amount, I mean, the question was, how much do you need to apply for it? Don't we have any basic rules that say that you must be able to contribute yourself as an organization, leverage some additional money from other levels of government and so on and so forth, or can the request be 100% from the municipality?
Certainly we encourage there to be other sources of funding. There's no question of that. Very often we are the first stop, and we leverage the other levels of government, because if the City of London is interested, then they can garner that support. A number of organizations seem to be well connected in terms of the business community, and they're able to garner a lot of sponsorship. Others not so much. So the amount of our support does vary, and obviously, again, it depends on the individual situation.
Have we done or do we do matching funds? In other words, one way of being able to encourage the community to come forward to support such a great gem in our city that allows young musicians and music and so on and so forth, all of those uses that you talked about, to be conditional on matching, so that if Londoners and businesses wanted to contribute this to help rejuvenate, to help move this great facility around, that it would be based on a matching basis. In other words, if they could raise $50,000 from the community, we could contribute up to $50,000 maximum. Have we ever used that formula as a way to work?
We have not, Your Worship. That's a good idea.
Okay. Lastly, Clark, I think you indicated that you've got an incredible talent pool of volunteers. Have you identified anywhere, because I don't think you did, but I think you should, because part of your contribution obviously is the in-kind contributions of the volunteers that you have. And I know an awful lot of our social enterprise groups, not-for-profits, sometimes underestimate or don't calculate the incredible amount of volunteer time and efforts or in-kind services that are given to organization. And in my opinion, that forms part of your contribution. So if we don't have that number...
I did supply that information.
Okay, you can do that. And I apologize for not seeing the binder before. I know that we were trying to get you in here in December, and obviously a whole bunch of things happened in December that we didn't anticipate. So on that basis, if there are no further questions, all in favor of the referral to the budget, and on condition, though, that the proper documentation be filled out, provided, and so on and so forth, so that we have a full package so that we can totally assess your request. Thank you so much. All in favor? All right. Thank you very much, and good luck.